Hi all, welcome to the EFL Championship Forum, where we discuss all things championship. It's been the opening start of the season, of course it has. Results have been happening and players have been in and out at teams, and there's been a few sagas, there's been players refusing to play, there's been everything regarding the championship. And like I say, we're going to be going through the results on the weekend as well. We're going to be joined by Martin, who is a Saints fan. We're going to be joined by our friend Ant from Hull and Back. We're going to be joined by Sportser. If you're a Leicester fan, you know who Sportser is. He's one of the main lads. And yeah, we're going to be talking to Sportser as well. Guys, as always, if you enjoyed the stream, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new to the channel. And yeah, let's see who's in then. Callum's in. How are you, Callum, mate? Will you be doing game week predictions, match previews? Yes, I will, mate, this week. Joe, what do you think to Ipswich promoted to the Premier League? Never say never in football. That's exactly what I'll say. Casey, how are you, mate? Good signing in for the Foxes. Yeah, we're going to ask Josh about that later. Let's get my first guest in. Sports, how are you?
I'm good, Jack. How are yourself?
Good, mate. Thank you. Let's get Martin in. Martin, how are you, mate?
I'm good. I'm ready to lose another player, but I'm okay.
Still holding on, Martin. Still clinching, mate.
No, massive game of weekend.
And then we've got Ant from Hull and Back. How are you, Ant, mate?
I'm all right, mate. How are you?
I'm all right, pal. Thank you. We'll start with you, Josh. Tell everyone where they can find you, mate, before we start the stream.
Yeah, you can find me at Sports, a random name I know, but yeah, just Leicester content on there for this season. So yeah, if you go and subscribe to that, that would be massively appreciated.
Martin, you do quite a lot of podcasts and that as well.
I do.
You've got a close relationship with Asmir Begovic.
I do.
Talk to me about what you do, mate, regarding Southampton and that.
I work on the Southampton Way podcast, so I go on that on a weekly basis. And then I have my own channel. I've been doing a lot of TikTok, actually, at Football Martin. Yep. Seems to go down really well. Really nice audience of young people wanting to learn about football and talk about football. So I'm trying to grow my audience there, and I'm on Twitter as well at Football Martin. And you mentioned Mr. Begovic. So yeah, I work for Mr. Begovic. I run a goalkeeping glove brand with Asmir, the QPR goalkeeper. So we're good friends, and we talk about the championship on a daily basis at the moment.
Fantastic. Thought Josh had blue hair for a second like Ross. Josh, I don't think that could ever happen, could it?
Maybe.
Yeah, let's close them rumours over.
Maybe.
And tell everyone where they can find you, mate, and what you do at Hull and Back.
We do match previews. We do episodes where we obviously review the previous game. We're bringing out written content on our new website this season as well, so you can find us on there. But we're on all the usual podcast providers. We do YouTube content as well. I've started doing TikTok, but it's brand new to me, so I'm still learning. It's brand new for me, so I'll get there eventually. But yeah, you can find us on Twitter. You can find me on Twitter as well. My handle's below. But yeah, we're all things Hull.
Yep. Firstly, boys, before we go on to the fixtures from the weekend, we're going to talk about our clubs in transfer window and that. There's been a lot happening over the last few weeks. And we'll start with you regarding Hull. Scott Twine to Hull City. And talk to me about the other transfer business.
Not much of it, to be fair. We brought in, earlier on in the window, we brought in obviously Liam Delap, who started really well so far. An important season for him, obviously, to try and reach the potential that people have tipped him for. So he's come in and looked okay. Jason Lakilo was rather an unknown quantity for us. He's come in and looked good in the two games he's played, a really tricky winger. We've obviously brought in Ruben Vinagre, who's kind of our hype signing at the minute. For this level of football, he's a very good attacking left back, so offers us another prong going forwards. We missed out on Carl Darlow to Leeds. Unfortunately, they can afford higher wages than us, obviously with parachute payments, which is a divisive topic at the best of times. And I'm on a podcast with everyone receiving them. Not jealous at all. But yeah, other than that, we're not really bringing that many in. Scott Twine's rumored to be coming in on loan in this week at some point, so hopefully that gets over the line. And then we obviously brought Aaron Connolly in on a 1-year deal as well, so hopefully he keeps fit this season because he can be an important player. But there is rumored a blow your socks off signing that's been teased for a couple of weeks now, but they won't name the name. It's a Premier League winger apparently, and everyone's saying things like, "Oh, it's proven that you don't need to be a big club to bring these kind of players in." So we're kind of waiting to see who that could be. I'm ready to be underwhelmed because the last time we had a signing like that, it ended up being some lad from Arsenal who never played for us and got sent back in January. So I'm not too. I'm going to hold out for that one at the minute. But yeah, other than that, not much. We lost Ben Tete to FC Metz as well. So Ryan Woods has been made available for transfer, so we can find a club. And other than that, we've been quite quiet, which is the complete opposite to last summer. Not necessarily a bad thing.
Yep. And Martin, we're gonna move to Southampton, mate. There's been a lot of talk about Southampton this transfer window. Losing James Ward-Prowse, the skipper, to West Ham United, which was confirmed yesterday. You look like you're going to be losing Lavia as well. Liverpool, there's been a few bids here and there, haven't there, for Lavia. Lavia said he wants to join Chelsea over Liverpool, which that deal could be done, I believe, in the next 48 hours or so if things go well. Livramento has left for Newcastle. Che Adams could be on his way out if they can find a fee for him. What's going on at Southampton? Obviously, the new manager as well in Russell Martin. Give me the highs and the lows of Southampton at the minute, mate, regarding transfers.
Huge transition, Jack, at the moment at the football club. There's just obviously the squad got fairly bloated last season. We went through 2 managers. We panicked in January and bought players that hardly featured. One of those being Paul Onuachu. Never really ever saw him, the tall striker. There's a lot of players that are not even featuring for Russell Martin at the moment. So they're trying to thin out the squad. They're trying to maximise what they can get for the key talent. Obviously gutted to see Ward-Prowse go this week. I was really, really, really gutted. I think it's a strange move for him. He was an absolute legend here. He was so loved by the fan base. He's probably not going to earn a great deal more money. He was one of the very few players at our football club that wouldn't have taken a wage reduction. He's didn't want to move house, so that's why he went to a London club. But yeah, there's obviously Lavia is going to go to Chelsea. He was probably one of the best 19-year-old midfielders in the Premier League last year. He's outstanding. He's a massive loss for us. It's how we do our transfer business. The window's rapidly closing in on us now. Flynn Downs is going to arrive this week on loan from West Ham. I believe Mason Holgate's coming from Everton as well. So there'll be some faces in. They won't let Adams go unless they can get a decent replacement.
There's a question here for you, Martin. What happened with Orsic? He joined Southampton a while ago. I haven't heard anything about him since.
He's gone. He left in the summer. So obviously he played 6 minutes of football here at Southampton. It was just Ruben Sellers didn't fancy him. He come in on the back of a really good World Cup. He made the 3rd place playoff. He was really good for Croatia at that World Cup. Come in. And I'm not sure what the issue was, whether it's worth ethic or what it was, but he left the football club. I can't remember where he went now, but wherever he went, he got injured in one of his first training sessions. I think he's done his ACL, and he's out for about a year. So it's a bit of a mess for Orsic.
And then there was another one, Romeo to Barcelona. I mean, that come as a surprise for some of the teams.
Yeah.
Romeo going to making that big move from Southampton to Barcelona. How did that one come about, Martin? Was you kind of shocked with the move? Did you expect a more different teams come in for him, like a more smaller sort of side? But how did the move to Barcelona come about for him?
He left us last summer, so he wanted to leave Southampton last summer. Massive reason why we probably got relegated, because he was him and James Ward-Prowse were outstanding in midfield for us, and he left last summer. And went to, I can't remember where it was now. But anyway, he went to Spain, played in the Spanish league for a season. I think it's at Girona. And Barcelona went in and approached them. But he's a great midfielder. I'm not surprised that he's ended up back there. He suits that style of play. He breaks things up in midfield. He's a brilliant midfielder. We missed him. Massive reason that we obviously brought Lavia in. Lavia we let Romeo go out. They sold him. And then obviously Lavia got injured for us. Then we were out. We were without like a key man in midfield for a long period of time. So he wanted to leave Southampton last summer, and it was they didn't want to block his move because he'd been a good servant.
Yep. Josh, Leicester. We're going to move on to them. Brought in Connor Cody, brought in Callum Doyle, Harry Winks. We've also brought in who else we brought in? Josh Mavadidi. We brought in quite a few players, haven't we? Cassady as well, yeah. How do you think Leicester's transfer business has gone, Josh? And obviously Matt Hermanson as well. So I think it's gone from a Leicester perspective.
Yeah, very well. I don't really have much complaints, really. The only thing I would say is that we probably need to let a few people go. The squad is a little bloated in some areas, but I think with the players we've brought in, it's a great mix. I think today's signing is going to be massive. Cassidy looks to be a big talent. Obviously, he's still young, but I think there's a good mix. You've got the experience in there of like Cody, Winks, etc., and then you've got the young talent of Callum Doyle, who's come in and settled in very nicely and looks to be much older than 19. Obviously, was at Coventry last year. You got Mads Hermanson in goal, who I thought has been very good. And there's a few youngsters who've been in the side, who are coming into the side, which look like new signings as well. But I think overall it's good. And just like I said, we've lost the likes of Barnes, Madison as expected for big fees, and now we're just expecting to lose a few of the fringe players, which would hopefully free up a bit of money just to bring in a few players, because I still think in some areas, especially out wide, we need a few players and maybe another striker. But I think so far it's got to be a very solid win, and I'm quite happy with it. I'll give it like at least an 8 out of 10. Yeah,
I think I'd give it an 8 out of 10 so far, Josh, to be fair. I mean, the likes of Samara are going to leave, aren't they? He hasn't featured at any point this season. Castagna hasn't featured this season either. There's been links with him to Fulham, Samara to Sevilla today. Then we talk about Patson Daka. There's been talks with Everton, I believe. Christensen. There's an Italian. Is it an Italian team in for Christensen? Is it Josh?
Bologna.
Bologna, is it? And there's going to be quite a few players leaving, aren't there, Josh? To be fair, and I've just heard Leicester want $5 million for him. What's your initial thoughts on like the leaving situation at Leicester, Josh? Do you actually think these teams are actually going to come in and bid for the players? Obviously, there was talks from about Ndidi today as well, wasn't they? About him. If a bid comes in, then Leicester will talk with teams. But there's been nothing concrete after, Josh, regarding all these valuations and that regarding the outs at Leicester City.
Yeah, 100%. And obviously there's been constant talk around some players, but nothing's really got advanced. It looks like Castagna was going to go to Juventus on a loan, but that never really materialised. You've got Dennis Pratt, who's constantly been linked with Torino, but nothing happens there either. So, yeah, it's hard to really see. There's always going to be links here and there because the journalists will see that players are not playing, and he can form a link quite easily. But you got players like Harry Souttar as well in there who haven't been involved either. So, yeah, there's definitely going to be a few players to go, but obviously you can't sell anyone if no one puts a bid in. So it's a bit of a difficult situation for us.
Is this about Leicester? Part of it's about Leicester, not everything though. We're going to get on to the 3 promoted sides who came in this season and the 3 teams that got relegated. Martin, we'll start with you with Southampton. What was your expectations for Southampton this season, and how key is Russell Martin this season in getting Saints back to the Premier League?
I think from like my perspective as a fan, I think it'd be really difficult to get automatic promotion. I think from a club perspective, they want automatic promotion. The owners did come out, Sport Republic, when we were relegated, and they said that the aim of this season was to get automatic promotion to win the division. So that's their expectation. So massive pressure on Russell Martin. He's never got a team promoted, has he? So it's a massive, massive job for him. It's a total change of play as well. I just want to see us in the top 6, really. I want to see us in and around, the top 2 if we can. If we can get in the playoffs, I'll probably take that at this moment in time. I think we're going to let a lot of goals in. You can see from our performances already, we're very, very naive at the back, and it's going to need addressing quickly. Like really, we brought a defensive coach in this week. So hopefully he sorts things out quickly.
I tell you what, Leicester was struggling with bloody defensive, wasn't they, Josh, last season, and that conceding goals like it was no one's business. Leicester, Josh, I mean, what was your expectations for Leicester this season, mate, as a Foxes fan, looking at it from the start of the season?
Yeah, I'd say it's similar to Martin, really. I think, obviously, Southampton did a little worse last year, but I think the expectations obviously got to be to go straight back up, but we all know how difficult the league is, and just like Martin said, I would take top 6, but I think with the start we've made, I know it's very early days, but it does give me a bit more confidence that we can, try and push on to automatics, because I think to win the games we have, we've not really played too well is a good sign. But yeah, it's still early days, but it's got to be to get promoted, surely. Because if not, it's going to be a difficult financial situation with the amount of players we've brought in and loans we've taken out and whatnot as well. So yeah, it's a key season for us, obviously.
Yeah, I think with Leicester coming down to the Championship, we always knew it was going to be difficult. The Championship's changed, hasn't it, Josh, in the way it was years ago? It's become more difficult. You're not guaranteed to go back up. You look at the likes of Norwich, the West Broms and Watfords and teams like that, and you're thinking these are used to getting promoted when they are coming back down, but that's not been the case. The Championship's it's a tough league. It's a battling league, and Hull, and what's your expectations of Hull?
Certainly not automatic promotion. I'll not follow
Unless
that.
You dream about it.
With us, it's difficult because last season, obviously, we had quite a very polarised season. The first half of the season, we were absolutely garbage defensively under Arveladze, and then obviously we replaced him with Brezina, and then we became the 4th best defensive side in the league and only lost 6 of the last 28 games. So you're thinking, if you can cut out the mass amount of injuries that we had last season and keep a consistent squad this year, then hopefully, if we carry on that similar vein and form where we're hard to beat, then we'll be in and around the top 6 area, at least top 10. I think that's where we should be aiming at. The worrying thing at the minute is the performance levels are just all over the place. So the first game against Norwich, we were easily outplayed. Could have been 4 or 5 goals down at half time. Very lucky to still be in the game at the end. Lost the game in the last minute. Then obviously at Doncaster in the cup, we were absolutely terrible and deservedly dumped out. But then against Sheffield Wednesday, we were absolutely amazing. So I think we've got to find that consistency. We've got to find a starting 11 that Rosini is happy with. He's changed system from last year. We were playing like a 4-3-3. He's gone to a 4-4-2 this season. I think it's in a way to try and score more goals, which at the minute's happening. We've scored in every game. We've just lost that defensive aspect where we've conceded 2 every game now. So we need to try and find that balance again where we're not leaking the goals, but we're also scoring them. So it'll be an important season if we can keep a lot of these players fit, because we've got 4 really good attackers now, like Tufan scored a hat-trick against Wednesday on the weekend, and then Aaron Connolly's off the mark, Oscar was off the mark in the cup, and Delap scored against Norwich. So all the strikers have got a goal. So they're not going on a scoreless run, which is good. It's always good to get your strikers with a goal early in the season, and all 4 of them have. So, it's let's see what these new signings bring. I think Twine is a very important addition for Rosini because we are very light in the wings. Yeah, I think those positions where you can create the extra goals, score the extra goals, especially from set pieces. He's very good from dead ball situations. He scores a lot of free kicks, so they can be worth a lot of points in themselves across the season if you can score direct free kicks in games. So yeah, I mean, I think realistically we'll probably be in and around the top 12, but I think the club are definitely aiming at least being in the question of the playoffs. So it'll just be what the squad's like at the end of the transfer market, I suppose.
Let's get on to Leeds, boys. There's been quite a lot of saga at Ellen Road, a new manager and new owners. The 49ers now come in. That took a while to get done. Let's have a look at Leeds' transfers. So they brought in Ethan Ampadu. They brought in Cole Darlow, Sam Byram, Joe Roden. They brought in Matteo Joseph, the Leeds under-21. So he's been promoted back up. Then we look at the outgoings of Leeds. And this is where it's been key for Leeds in the saga. You've got players who have been refusing to play. Obviously, they've had quite a few injuries, Leeds, haven't they? But when you come to refusing to play, this is where it gets interesting with, and when Ant said about Sinistero and Nonto as well. Talk to me about them players. I mean, with players, they should never refuse to play, should they, Ant? They should always give 100% when it comes to teams. I know Leeds have got relegated and some have relegation contracts and all that, but it puts a real dampener, doesn't it, on the whole situation regarding wanting to succeed if players are not wanting to put the shift in and not wanting to beat your football club.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is for me, because I was talking about this with my family who we went to the game with on Saturday. We were reminiscing about players that sort of, lost the will to play for us when we were relegated from the Premier League to the Championship, and it's shocking in the sense that, Leeds have got relegated because those players didn't play to the best of their ability. So they don't really have any right to refuse to play, because it's up to them to try and at least make sort of amends for what's happened. Even if you have got a desire to leave the club, in the meantime, whilst you're still there and contracted, you should still be turning up and trying your utmost best when you're on the pitch up until you seal that transfer away. Now, refusing to play just causes issues in the squad. It upsets the harmony of the squad. It causes the club to come under a negative light, when really you need to be trying to be as positive as you can to recover from something like a relegation. So, yeah, it's a bad situation for Leeds, considering like the vast majority of their players are going out on loan as well. So they're not really making any money from the squad vanishing, basically. And a lot of their best players go in, like Jack Harrison as well, who I think would have been a phenomenal player in the league this season if he'd have stayed. So, yeah, it's put Leeds under a bit of a problem. I think they need to try and shift them as quick as they can in order to stop, obviously, the media stories and fan focus being on them, and try and replace them with players that actually want to play and get them some wins.
Josh, we're going to come to you about Leeds. What's your thoughts on the Leeds situation? If I talk to you about outgoings, there's obviously been Rodrigo. He's gone. I think he went to Saudi Arabia, was it? The Robin Cox gone out on loan, Josh. Woba on loan again. Tyler Roberts, he's gone. Joel Robles, gone. Aronson, Jack Harrison, Christensen, Mark Rocker, Adam Forshaw. It's a saga that you don't want, is it, Josh? You want to earn as much money as you can as a football club, but selling all these players out on loan. But I think it becomes with the players that they don't want to play for the club because they've got relegated, and a lot of uncertainty with players. You know what I mean? It comes into a lot of question, doesn't it, Josh, when you're getting rid of quite a lot of players due to uncertainty with not wanting to play for your football club.
Yeah, 100%. If I was a Leeds fan, I'll be fuming, really, because a lot of those players you mentioned there, I think came in last year. So just like Ant said, they come in, got relegated, and then think they're too good and want to leave. It's just, I don't really get it. And obviously the players like Rodrigo and stuff probably are too good for the Championship, but I think the point's still there, because if you get relegated and obviously with Leicester, with obviously Barnes, Maddison, and Tielemans, it's a bit more understandable. But I think with the players you mentioned there, I just think it's quite pathetic, really, the way they've gone. And you can see how it's affected the start to the season. The squad's disjointed, the fans are getting on the backs, and yeah, it's created a very difficult start to the season for them. And as a Leeds fan, you would want to get the situation, resolved as quick as possible and try and turn things around. But they've still got a long way to go, obviously. But yeah, the amount of business going there, and just like you said, the loan deals as well, doesn't really help them, because if they're on loan, if Leeds don't get promoted, they're not going to want to come back, are they? So they're back to square one.
No, I think this is it with Leeds, isn't it, Martin? When you got a lot of players who want to leave the football club, we were all refusing to play. It puts a dampener on the position, doesn't it? Where Leeds want to succeed on the football pitch, and if you've got a squad of players who are on the football pitch who don't want to play for your football club, you're thinking, what do you do next? And I think this is where Daniel Farke he's coming to Leeds. He wants to bring in his own squad and all that, but he's still got these players who he needs to shift to and not putting in the 100% in that.
I think they made a great appointment with Daniel Farke as well. I thought he was the right man to probably go in there and do a job. I was well impressed when they got him in there. And for me, I always thought that Leeds would be really solid this season. I'm really surprised by their start. Obviously, the unrest behind the scenes, but I saw the game against Cardiff and they really struggled first half against Cardiff. Found themselves in an awkward situation, but managed to get a point. And I was surprised at their result of the weekend. They've got a massive one Friday night against West Brom. They got West Brom, then they got newly promoted Ipswich. So they got some tough games coming their way. They're going to have to really turn things around quickly. Farke's got a horrific job to sort that squad out. There's, like we say, that window's closing quickly. You need players in the door that want to be at the football club, and all these players refusing not to play. I find it absolutely disgraceful when they sign contracts and they're earning 20, 30, 40, 50 grand a week. It's unbelievable. We bite someone's hand off to get paid that sort of money. It's just unbelievable.
I think that's right, isn't it, Josh? I mean, look, when Enzo Maresca came into Leicester, he talked about mentality. Mentality was the first thing he talked about with players. They've got to have the right mentality to play for this football club. If they don't, they're out the door. And I think that's the mentality all managers have got to have, haven't they, Josh, when it comes to dealing with situations. Obviously, Daniel Farke's in a sticky position regarding players that want to be at the club, and then probably a majority that don't want to be at the club because they don't want to play in the Championship or they think they're too good. I think, a level-headed like Maresca, Maresca's kind of like gone into Leicester and really shown that, if you don't want to be at his football club, I'm not going to play you. You are going to be gone this summer. And I'm going to bring in players who are fit to wear the shirt and really give it a good go, who's hungry enough to do so.
Yeah, exactly that. And I think there's having quality of players and whatnot, but I think the mental side of the game and especially that side of the game is more important in some respects. And I think especially with relegation, you've got to focus more on that side of things as well, because if you've got players in there who don't want to play, and it could just be one player, but if that player is like an experienced player, which people look, which
the influences the team, doesn't it?
Exactly that, and they can have a knock-on effect, and it can spiral down. And I think Liam Cooper said something before the season started: if you don't want to be here, you can go off. So I think that's the right thing to do, but I don't think his message has really gone through, has it?
No. And do you want to touch on what Josh just said?
It's one of those, isn't it, where Leeds' problem is that, like we said, that the players have gone out on loan, haven't they? So. Whereas Leicester and Southampton are losing quality players, but for huge sums of money. Whereas, the financial future of the club seems, perfectly fine. If you wanted to bring in top quality Championship players to ensure you're in at least the top 6, you can easily do that with the money that you two clubs have recouped. Whereas Leeds have, I think, lost more than 10 players, perhaps brought in 3 or 4, and they've actually lost money. So they're in a situation where it's become an issue beyond even just the squad harmony. It's the financial aspect of the club. I think it's maybe a bit of naivety on the board side where they've put daft loan clauses in the contracts. I was talking to a Leeds supporting mate of mine, and he just said, look, they thought they'd never get relegated. They put these clauses in the contracts to say, oh yeah, if we went down, you can get a loan. Of course you can. Thinking that they were pretty much safe and staying up this season, and obviously it's come back to bite them on the behind. So it's a situation that I think probably strengthens Leicester and Southampton's position, because it's good to have another relegated rival that's perhaps maybe putting themselves out of the running for that top 2 spot at the minute. Obviously, it might change come the end of the transfer window, but they need to desperately bring in players to try and salvage this start to the season, because they don't want to fall behind too far, because we know how hard it is to string together wins in the Championship. And if you go 5 or 6 games without winning at the start, then you're giving yourselves a mountain to climb.
I agree. Martin, do you agree with what Ant's saying about the Leeds situation?
No, I do. I agree with everyone on it, really. I just think, like you say, it strengthens your position, like at Leicester, and particularly our position as well. Why there's uncertainty and they haven't got things in order. But then you could say that about us as well. There's so much uncertainty around players at our place, and we don't have a settled squad. I always said that I thought August was going to be really tough for certainly us and Leeds. I think Leicester, the thing about what Leicester have done is they did their business early. Yeah. I think the one thing that Southampton and Leeds haven't done is been able to do. Obviously, we're holding out for big transfer fees. Yeah, but you did your business early, and it's reflecting in performances. You started really well.
Yeah, agreed. Let's get on to the 3 that's come up then. Sheffield Wednesday, Plymouth and Ipswich. Which team do we want to touch on first, boys? Where do we go?
Let's do Ipswich.
We'll start with Ipswich. Josh, you can start with Ipswich then. 2 wins in their first 2 games for Ipswich, top of the Championship at the minute. How do you think Ipswich have found the Championship, Josh? Obviously, at the weekend, they played the team, I think they won League One with, second place League One, which they came up with. How have you found Ipswich's transfer business and how they've gone about things in the Championship?
Yeah, I think they've done really well, to be fair. Obviously, quite a lot of people expected them to do well this year. But I think the key thing for Ipswich is that they've, just like you said, it's the same squad. It's a settled squad, and that just shows you if you have a settled squad, you can come in and hit the ground running. That's what Ipswich have done. I won't lie, I don't know too much about their business. Obviously, they got George Hurst from Leicester in on a permanent, but yeah, I just think keeping the same squad. Obviously, they got the same manager, and they're just continuing that good run of form because they obviously ended League One on great form last year, and they kept that going up, and they look to be a very good side. And Kieran McKenna, looks to be a fantastic manager, and he's got them playing well. And they're beating Stoke, who obviously beat Rotherham on the opening day and quite convincingly. So top of the league, I don't think Ipswich fans can have anything to complain about. And obviously, I was expecting them to do well, but be interested to see how long they can obviously keep in that top, the top 6 or so. But I expect them to definitely be up there.
Yeah, I think with Ipswich, they've picked up that momentum, haven't they, Martin? After coming up from second last season. Kieran McKenna's got on playing some exciting stuff. The players have really fed into what McKenna wants and the style of football he wants to play. He's brought in some signings like George Hurst and that. And they've really gone about their business quite smoothly at the minute. And I think they've done really well in the 2 results that they've picked up over Stoke and over Sunderland.
Sleeping giant of the Championship, aren't they? I thought it when they come up. I went on to an Ipswich podcast earlier on in the summer. They were talking about they wanted to talk to the teams that had been relegated. I jumped on with the guy, and they spoke really, really highly of Kieran McKenna. Said the brand of football he plays, he's got them really playing football. They're confident, they know what they're doing, and like they've got things settled. And like Josh said, and you've said, it's about momentum. You get good momentum early doors, and they'll be fine in this division this year, I think. I think out of the promoted sides that have come up, I think they'll be absolutely fine. But a bit of a sleeping giant. I'd be interested to see if they, like you say, can keep momentum going now.
I think momentum's key, isn't it? And when you're a team coming up from League One, it's about getting as many points as you can early on, isn't it? So you avoid that little slip and little blip. What's your initial thoughts on Ipswich, mate?
No, yeah, they're a really good team. Like Josh mentioned, I think they're the kind of team that many people have actually tipped to be a dark horse, perhaps for the top 6 at the end of the season. And it all comes down, obviously, to the style of player that McKenna's got and playing. They've got a squad that's got goals all over the pitch, and like we've all said, that key word, momentum. If you can get promoted, you're coming into the next season so high on confidence, and you're used to winning. It becomes a culture. You've won so many games the previous season that it becomes almost second nature to just keep that confident attacking football going, despite the step up in quality in the league ladder. And you see it before. I mean, Sunderland got promoted last season from League One and finished in the playoffs, so it can happen. You've got to have a clear identity. I mean, all the best successful sides from this league that get promoted have a clear identity. They stick with it, and they're good at it. And I think Ipswich are doing that. I think it will be interesting to see how they do, obviously, if they get a couple of bad results in a row and how they recover from that. Yeah. But I definitely do have them as a side that's probably going to be a top half, at least, in considering the strength of the division this year. That's not a negative at all.
No, I think they're one of my dark horses this season, Josh, for the playoffs. I wouldn't be surprised, to be fair. You looked at Sunderland last season, came up, and then surprised and got into the playoffs. It can happen. Football's a funny game. You write off these teams who come up from League One and you think, yeah, they're definitely getting relegated at the end of the season. But it looks like Ipswich, they've got that mentality, that right mentality. They're doing the business well. They're being run well, and they're really doing everything that's asked of them in the positive manner, Josh. Where did you have Ipswich, Josh, at the from now until the end of the season? What was your prediction on them?
It's tough, that is. I think we did a video before, didn't we? We were about the same, just around playoff area. I think I'd have about 8th or 9th or something. I won't put them too high, but I think it's around there. But yeah, I think obviously they're top of the league right now. They're only 2 games in, is a massive long way to go. But I think with the way they're going, they can definitely, just like Ant said, they can get that top 10 finish, and that'll be massive for them. Then they can push on next year. But I wouldn't be surprised at all if Ipswich could just keep this up and get going, because if they can string a few more wins together next couple of games, they can just keep going.
Yeah, Martin, where did you have Ipswich for this season, mate, in your predictions?
mid-table for me. I just think that like the sides coming up, I think sometimes you get a side that come up. We did it in 2011 when we come up from League One. You have a winning mentality, which you spoke about on the show, and that can just kind of snowball. And you can start well. And we went straight. We come up from League One and we went straight back to Premier League. We had 1 year in the Championship straight up, and it was just all about mentality and winning and keeping it going. I don't think they'll go up for a minute. I think they'll be mid-table for me.
Yeah, agreed. Jays has had Southampton in second.
I'd take that right now.
I think you would.
I'd take that right now.
And what about you, mate? Ipswich?
I think I had them around mid-table. I think I had them 13, 14, something like that. I think they'll have. I mean, that might change come the end of the transfer window. Let's see where they are. But I think similar to what Martin said there. I think they'll have a decent fist of it, but fall short. Just because of the quality of some sides that are going to be chasing that top six. I think it's going to be such a hard league for anybody this year. And if Ipswich were the kind of side that were going to go up from League One and finish in the top six, I think it would be some feat and probably one of the best, probably fair seasons from a League One promoted side, just because of the strength of the Championship this season. So, but I just think that they'll be in or in around mid-table, probably be in that playoff discussion about January-ish, but fall short for me.
Yeah, I agree with what John's saying about Ipswich. The next one we're going to touch on, Martin, is Plymouth. Winners of League One last season. Picked up a big 3-1 win over Huddersfield on the opening day. They've signed Whittaker, who's banging in the goals. They drew with Watford as well at the weekend. How do you think Plymouth will get on this season? How good of a start do you think they've had?
It's going to be a hard place to go. Their form at home is unbelievable. I don't know all the statistics around it, but we go there on Saturday lunchtime. I expect a really tough game against them. I think there'll be a side that'll pick a lot of points up at home. People won't want to go down there. And I'd fear for us a little bit at the weekend. We're a little bit naive at the back anyway, but I think they'll do well. I don't think I can't see them going straight back down. I wouldn't say that for Wednesday, but I think they'll stay up. I really do.
Yeah, agreed. I've had them down near the bottom, but I've not had them to go down. A lot of people have had them to go down, though, Plymouth.
No,
I just think the transfer business, what they've done, they've gone quite swiftly with that, and they're playing some exciting football. And like you say, at home park, it's going to be a real struggle for teams to get points, I reckon, because they'll make teams know they're in for a game. And that's what I like about the Championship, innit? You know what I mean? It's not an easy to go and pick up 3 points. And what about Plymouth, mate? What do you reckon to their start?
They've started really well. I mean, if you aim at to stay in the Championship, you're probably looking at 50 points. First 2 games, 2 wins already in the top 6, so they'll enjoy that start. But the thing is obviously the Championship's 48 games. They've still got a lot of games to come. Like Martin said, they'll be very good at home. So they'll depend on their home form this season, I think, and their issues will become if they can continuously pick up results away. I had them, I think, to finish originally before they made all the transfers. I had them in the bottom 3, but I actually think they'll stay up. I think they'll have enough fight in them to stay reasonably clear. I think they'll be about 18th, 19th, something like that, which is a good season for them, I think. But they also could surprise us if they go on win another couple of games, and they could have people questioning, I mean, they won the league last season above Ipswich, and we're all tipping Ipswich for better things. So it shows the resilience in that squad and the quality that they've got. And I think in the couple of games that they've played, they've showed they can mix it at this level, and they have what it needs to win games in this league. So could be a productive season for them, but I do think they'll be lower mid-table.
Josh, talking about Plymouth, what have you made on their start so far? And can they sustain it, though, Josh, with their squad depth?
Yeah, I think it's an ideal start. Obviously, unbeaten. There'll be a big test, obviously, like Martin said, when Southampton come. Test both ways, I'd say. But yeah, I completely agree with what everyone said. Home form's going to be key, but I think it's similar to Ipswich, really. Obviously, they won the league last year. If they can carry on some good form, keep it going, they've got that winning mentality installed in the squad. I think transfer-wise, they've done a solid job as well, been quite shrewd around it. So, yeah, I don't back them to go down. I don't think they'll do as well as Ipswich, but, depending on the next couple of weeks, I think, we could easily see them I think there'll be clear relegation. They may go down there in a slight fight in the Christmas time or something like that. But you just never know. It's too early to call, I think. But if they can get a few wins at home in a row, I think they'll be fine.
And we're going to go to your rivals next, Sheffield Wednesday, mate. Well, what did I say about Sheffield Wednesday? They played Martin's team, got outpassed by Martin's side, Southampton at Hillsborough. They did score, though, with Gregory. They did end up losing 2-1. Then they went to Hull, and is it Tofan, is it? Ended up scoring. Tofan, scored and did very well in the game. He was the key player in that game, I heard, and it looked like a very good game, man. 4-2 victory for Hull, which was at the weekend against Sheffield Wednesday. Sheffield Wednesday, like I say, are in transition, aren't they, Isco? And he's still saying that he needs to bring new faces in. They are in transition in him getting to know the players and all that. There's obviously in the summer with the owner, saying this, that, and the other. Behind the scenes, they don't really want it to get onto the pitch situation, but they have lost their first 2 of the season. And what's your initial thoughts on Sheffield Wednesday? And how have you actually had Sheffield Wednesday for this season, mate?
I had them to get relegated, and that's not changed. I think they were one of the worst sides that's visited our stadium for a long time. I mean, you said they were outpassed by Southampton. They were outpassed by us. We had 70-odd% possession against them too. So I think they've averaged something like 23% possession in the 2 games they've played, which isn't great. Because if you haven't got the ball, you're not going to score goals. I mean, I say that they scored 3 in 2 games. But they scored with, realistically, their only 2 chances of the game against us. And one was when we was 4-1 up, and it was towards the end, and it was just poor defending, lapse of concentration. So, I mean, they were just very standoffish. I think at this level, you've got to be able to be combative. You've got to be industrious, especially in midfield. You've got to try and control, mark out key players that are going to keep possession. And they basically gave us the freedom of Hull to do what we wanted to do. I mean, they went 1-0 up against the run of play on a counter-attack goal. But at the moment we got the penalty and equalised, there was only real one direction that match was going, and we were in full control. The second half was just complete domination. Tufan obviously got a hat-trick. Second goal was an absolute peach. Aaron Connolly, they tried to do a back pass, and they basically just gave it to Connolly one-on-one, and he scored. So, I mean, it's just a bit chaotic at the minute for him. Off the pitch, they've got an owner who's a bit of a loon. Darren Moore left in the summer. They've brought in a lot of transfers, but it's only been recently, so they're going to have to try and bed in and learn a new style of play. I mean, the fans aren't happy. The off the pitch antics has kind of led to a kind of negative, intense atmosphere as well. I mean, some of the fans online are saying, the manager might not last till the next transfer window anyway. So you don't already want those kind of questions 2 games into a season on your gaffer. So yeah, it just looks like sort of the chaotic summer they've had might come to regret it, because you don't want to slow start in this championship. You don't want to be in the bottom 3 and trying to recoup points to stay up. And I think they've just not got enough for me goals wise. The system doesn't seem to suit the players they've got. I mean, obviously it could change when they bed in these new signings, which I think the vast majority of them haven't played yet or aren't match fit. So we might not have seen the version of Sheffield Wednesday that the new gaffer wants them to play. But at the minute, my judgment on them is they're going to really struggle this season.
Josh, Wednesday haven't had the greatest to start. Like Ant said, it's been a melee at Sheffield Wednesday, innit, from the owner down to the squad, and things haven't gone great. The fans, like I said, are not confident on the gaffer staying for so long. It's a really intense situation at Sheffield Wednesday, isn't it, Josh? Like I said, behind the scenes and on the pitch, and it just seems like it's created one little problems, kind of like getting big, gradually bigger, and it's not what they want. Isco, wants to stay at Sheffield Wednesday as long as possible, get his squad winning. He's got to gel the players in and get them playing that style of football in transition. Talk to me about Sheffield Wednesday, Josh.
Yeah, I think it's complete opposites to Ipswich and Plymouth, innit? Obviously, they didn't come up as strong as they did, but to get rid of a manager, was a couple of weeks before the season, it's just going to cause issues. And just as we touched upon, their ownerships, not fantastic, and they made a poor start, and it's a difficult job to get it around. They got Preston at home next, which is massive, really. I think obviously Preston made a decent start as well, but yeah, I think with Sheffield Wednesday, I think most people had them tipped to go down. Just like I said, didn't do as well as Ipswich and Plymouth last year in League One, and transfer-wise, I don't think they haven't brought anyone too fantastic in either. So yeah, it's going to be an uphill task, but you never know. They could string a few wins together, but it's a big job on the hands of the gaffer to. I think, if they can get one win, they may be able to slowly turn things around. But I think it'd be a big task to even get that one win right now.
Martin, Sheffield Wednesday, mate.
I think they get relegated. I thought that before the season kicked off. I think that the off field losing the manager when they did, I think he did a good job there as well, didn't he, Darren Moore? He obviously I don't know what the reasons are for leaving, but probably wasn't going to be backed in the window.
Apparently wages. He wanted quadruple wages.
Yeah, he wanted 4 times his wage, didn't he?
Wow. So you lose a good guy in him, and they just look like a side that are going to find it really, really difficult. They looked a little bit naive against us, and I don't know how they were with Hull at the weekend. I would imagine again they were pretty naive. Like you said, they've had no possession of the ball at all. You need to be able to try and control games in the Championship. They have a good player in Barry Bannon in central midfield. When they played us in the League Cup last year, they were really good. On the night at St Mary's, they were good. They almost beat us, to be fair. It went to penalties and we managed to scrape it on pens, but they were good. They were organised under Darren Moore. They weren't particularly easy to play through, but when we played them at Hillsborough a couple of Fridays ago, we just be able to play through them so easy. And I think, they're in for a super tough season. I see them going down.
I agree. I've had Sheffield Wednesday to go down as well. They're going to find it tough. I mean, there was at top of League One for a amount of time, weren't they, and Sheffield Wednesday last season. But then they all of a sudden dropped off, went on this losing streak, and then they just managed to end up in the playoffs. They got through the playoffs, beating Barnsley with seconds to go. And, to lose your manager in the way you do, and then you've got to go and find another manager and then bring in more players and that to try and get this squad ready for the Championship. I just don't think they're ready at the minute.
No, I mean, the thing is, they went I think it was a club record, 20-odd games unbeaten or something. And people had them, sailing home with the title at that point. And like you say, they fell off, the form fell off a cliff kind of thing. And they finished in the top 6. And then obviously I think they lost there. Was it 3 or 4-0 in the first leg? And then everyone wrote them off. Yeah. And they somehow brought that back to 4-4 and then took it to Wembley and won with a Windass winner, which is a familiar name. And then you're thinking, similar to the other 2 promoted sides, the high that you would get off the way that they went up in the playoffs, that momentum would have been so important going into the season. And I think it's when you lose your manager and those plans just get torn up and burned, you're essentially starting again. I mean, we had the same when we got promoted under Steve Bruce the 3rd time, and then he resigned in the summer. And you all your transfer plans, your playing style, those players that were previously trusted and things, it's just everything's up in the air, and you don't know where you're going as a club. Whereas you should know exactly where you're going and carrying a promoted winning mentality into the next season, and it just disrupts everything. So they've got to learn, the players have got to learn a new manager. They've got to get to know him. He's got to trust his players. They've got to reform partnerships. They've changed system. They're bringing in a lot of new players quite late into the window, and they're just trying to shove them all into the same squad. So it's a bit of a desperate throw of the dice really for hoping that the manager can just get them playing and hopefully bed them all in. But your issue is, if you're a Sheffield Wednesday fan, is that it might be too late in the season that gel happens. If you come November and you're in the bottom 3 and you've got quite a few points to drag back, then it's always really tough to recover from that position. So, yeah, I do think that obviously with what happened with Darren Moore might be the reason that they struggle so hard this season.
Yep, we're going to go on to surprises before we go on to results. We're going to, I don't know, we'll go good or bad, whichever way you want to do it. Who's surprised you, who's near the bottom, or who's surprised you, who's at the top? I'm going to start with Middlesbrough. And I think Middlesbrough is the one I'm going to talk about. They're really struggling. They had Cameron Archer in that on loan, didn't they? They had Ramsey as well. There are quite a few loan players last season. They had the left back as well, Ryan Giles. He was there as well. And then they've lost a lot of players. I mean, Michael Carrick transitioned that club, didn't he, after Wilder left? he made them playoff contenders and all that. And they've not really had the response. And then you got players like Atpom who could be leaving for, is it £8 million? Or is it one of the Turkish clubs or something? So
Ajax, I think.
Is it Ajax? Yeah, there we go, Ajax. There was a Turkish club interested, though, in him. But to lose him to Ajax, that's your main striker. That's the guy who were banging in the goals for you last season. And to come at this time in the window halfway through and you're thinking, my God, with half of the weeks that are left, it's a tough one to take for Middlesbrough. If you lose that Pom, you've got to replace him. It's got to be the right striker in mind to go and get the player who's going to score 20 goals a season for you in the Championship. It's an uncertainty where a minute at Pom. There was rumours of Sheffield United interest in all that, but Middlesbrough, it's just not gone the way they wanted to. I mean, a 3-0 defeat to Cov at the weekend, and then last weekend losing at home to Millwall. They are bottom of the table, 2 defeats from 2. Middlesbrough has obviously been one of the contenders for playoffs, haven't they? People talking about Middlesbrough with promotion and that this season. But like I say, these loans that you're going to be losing, you've got to replace them quite quickly and I don't think Middlesbrough have done that. They brought in Seny Dieng and that, the goalkeeper, haven't they? Brought in quite a few more players, but I just don't feel that it's clicking for Middlesbrough at the minute, and they're really struggling. So, yeah, my surprise at the minute is Middlesbrough. Josh, what about you, mate?
Yeah, I'd agree with Middlesbrough. I'll try and pick someone a bit different. I'd say Birmingham City. Obviously, people expected them to do well with the new ownership and whatnot, but I think they made a very good start and they got a big win against Leeds. Obviously, it came late on for a penalty. I don't know how they played in the game or whatnot, but I think they made a good start. They can definitely push on and be a surprise package. But I think if you look at one major surprise, it has got to be Middlesbrough. Just as you touched upon, most people had them tipped to obviously go playoffs. Obviously, it's only 2 games into the season, still a long way to go. But I think the manner of defeat against Coventry wasn't great, and yeah, it's still early days. But yeah, it's not looking too up for Borough, is it? But you never know. Under Michael Carrick, I think he got on players in great stuff next year, lost a load of players, so it's time to resettle and kind of rebuild and in a sense, and he could get them playing some good football again.
Yeah, I agree. He's got to find that form again and really get this mentality back, what they had last season. But when you lose in the playoffs, Josh, it's how you're going to react to it the season after. Obviously, Leicester, when they lost to Watford, they reacted a bit. They went to win on the Championship. But, yeah, I don't think Middlesbrough at the minute's in that sort of basket, is it, of they've reacted not the right way. And what about you, mate? Who's your surprise? Is it at the top of the table or are you going at the bottom?
I was going to say Borough, but I feel like we've exhausted that one. I think Borough fans will be, they'll unsubscribe from you, mate. I think my surprise would be Norwich, because I actually had them as a team that would probably be in and around the mid-table. But from the 2 games that I've seen them play, they look like they're going to be top 6 contenders, absolutely. I just think that they played us off the park first game of the season. They really did. I mean, they would have been very surprised that they went 4 or 5 up at half time. We scored a bit of a smash and grab goal, held on to it, and then that midfielder there's Sarah, absolutely amazing player. They look like they're very organised, very well drilled. They look like they're just going to try and score an absolute shed load of goals this season, and they're going to be an entertaining team to watch. But they seem so much better than they were last season, which I think is obviously a plus. Because last season I think they underperformed, so hopefully from a Norwich fans' perspective that they'll have a far better season this season, and I do think they'll be definite top 6 contenders at least, and they just look very, very lethal going forwards. I mean, that the 4-4 at Southampton was some game. It's for the start of the season as well. It's they're pretty much making their statement to the league with a result like that against a team like Southampton.
Yeah, Terry Pittsburgh's only 2 games. Christmas will paint a bigger picture. It will, but it's how you start. You want to always start your season off strongly, but in Middlesbrough's case, it's kind of like going a bit dipping down. Martin, what about you, mate? Who's your surprise then? Is it the top or is it the bottom? Where are you going with?
I was going with the top. I was going to go with Ant as well with Norwich. Obviously, I had the pleasure of watching Norwich at St Mary's on the weekend. I was super impressed with them. There were a lot of they're really quick on the turnover. They didn't have a lot of possession, but when they turned the ball over, the boy Sar's quality, the Brazilian lad, he looked really good. He was a menace all game, and like Ant said, they're going to score a load of goals. So like they were the side that shocked me. To be fair, so far, like you've covered Middlesbrough. Michael Carrick, I really like. I thought a lot of people down here wanted to see Michael Carrick come here. He was never going to come down here when he had the job at Borough. He'd not long been in it. But really alarming that they've started so badly. Like you said, they've got, again, another club that need to do transfer business. But yeah, I was going for the top with Norwich, really, with Ant. I was super impressed with them the weekend.
Yep. Let's get on to the results from the weekend then, boys. We'll go game by game. We'll start off with Coventry City picking up a big 3-0 win at the weekend. They've reacted well after the Leicester game. Williams is bagging in the goals for them, isn't he? Coventry. He scored at the weekend. Looked a good player. How do you reckon this one went, Josh? I mean, it wasn't a great day for Middlesbrough, was it? But a better day for Coventry. This game had quite a few goals. But yeah, the dinner time kickoff didn't disappoint, did it, Josh, to be fair? And Coventry went home the happier bunch. So, yeah, talk to me about this game.
Yeah, well, it looks like they had their finishing boots on. To be fair, I don't want to say I'm surprised because if you look at the game against Leicester, and let's be honest, you should have scored a few more, but it looks like they turned up, and I think it was Matty Godden, I think he is, who scored a few, and Hadji Wright. So, yeah, they also put the finishing boots on and Wood.
Hadji Wright, that's it, not Williams, Josh.
Yeah,
sorry.
And then took advantage of a poor Middlesbrough side. So, yeah, it's a good win for them. Obviously, it would have been a heartbreak for them with the King Power, but, you know, they've turned it around and got a big win, and they're probably back on sale now to, you know, get a decent run under. I'm not so sure who'd have got the next couple of games, but I think that win could probably just kickstart their season, really.
And the Coventry Middlesbrough game, mate. Obviously, they'd lost Gokarex, didn't they, Cov? Then they lost Hamer. Gus Hamer before the game as well, Sheffield United. Talk to me about Coventry's win over Middlesbrough.
Yeah, I think it's even more just because of the context of last season as well. It's a very big win because obviously these were both playoff sides. So to start this season after both of them had playoff heartbreak, and Coventry to put 3 past Borough and look relatively in control the entire game. Coventry fans will come away from that, very, very positive. Probably seeing the season as I mean, certainly for me, I thought Coventry would struggle once they lost Gyökeres and Hamer, but they've done very well in recruiting striker-wise. I mean, Hadji Wright was a player we were linked with last summer and didn't sign him. I think we could have got him for a couple of mil, and they've signed him for nearly 10. So, that's a missed opportunity on our behalf, but he'll be some striker in this league. He's a very good forward, so they might have replaced like for like in that sense. And to get a good win like that, I mean, they probably deserved at least a point at Leicester, and got came away with nothing, so they'll be disappointed, like Josh said. But they've responded with a nice, convincing win against playoff contenders last season. So, and a team that many, including me, probably thought would also be in the top 6 with Borough. But it's a big win, and they'll hopefully try and carry that momentum forwards. And I think it'll be another side where that home form will be really important for them this season, and they'll definitely have aspirations of finishing in that top 6 again. And a result like this shows the definite contenders.
Martin, Coventry winning 3-0 convincingly against Middlesbrough, reacting from that defeat to Leicester, giving Middlesbrough back-to-back defeats. I mean, how do you think Mark Robins has gone about his business at Coventry?
I think he's a quality manager. I really like him. A lot of people spoke about him down here as well. Obviously, when we were managerless, people like Mark Robins. He knows his league well. They'll be right in the mix, won't they? I watched the game against you guys at the King Power, and I thought they fared really well. They give you a really good game, and you had that little bit of quality, that little edge of Premier League quality at the end that was that was enough to get the point out of the game. But yeah, they'll be there, won't they? They've got their momentum from last season. It's whether they could just get themselves in the playoffs. Obviously, to get auto would be amazing, but there's so many of us going to be fighting those top spaces, isn't there? But they'll be there. Robins is class. I really like him.
Yep. We'll stay with you, Martin. We'll go to Birmingham Leeds. Djukovic scoring the penalty in the 91st minute to give Birmingham all 3 points against a against a so good Leeds, should we call it? You know, a game where Nonto said he's not going to play, refusing his all in that one. But talk to me about Birmingham's win over Leeds. How big of a win that is for the Blues?
What a great win for them. I come out of St Mary's, and the first thing we were looking at what everyone else had done. We were looking at obviously at Leicester's results straight away to see how you did. And it was a standout for me to beat Leeds. That gave them a massive amount of confidence going into the weekend's fixture as well. Superb 3 points for Birmingham. They must be buzzing there.
And Birmingham beating Leeds.
A big win, especially away at Elland Road, a ground that obviously it's hard to come away with 3 points from. Clean sheet as well. I think it's obviously important in Birmingham have struggled for a lot of years in they've just kind of scraped survival for the last however many years now. They've been in the same cycle, repeated every year. Fans obviously wanting a change in ownership, and they've got that. And obviously Tom Brady's involved. It's quite high profile, kind of Ryan Reynolds kind of thing going on as well. So they've got that positivity off the pitch, and then they're starting to see the improvements on the pitch. So hopefully that feel good factor around the club is probably going to contribute to a lot more positive results this season, and perhaps maybe at least top half finish maybe if they carry on in this run, because they've had a good transfer window too. But they're a side that you're probably going to have to keep your eye on, because I think many people might not have tipped them for much this season, but given their start, they might just kind of be going under the radar. So an interesting one to keep your eye on in the next few weeks.
Yeah, I think Birmingham a big win at St Andrews for them. Like I say, Djukovic again in the goals. He always is. He's a lethal goal scorer. He's clinical, and he's the big man that everyone would love. A big man up front. He knows where the goal is. A big win against the promotion hopefuls in Leeds. And the significance of the result, it does bear with Leeds, with the uncertainty like behind the scenes and that, and you can see it affecting what's happening on the pitch. And a 1-0 defeat for Leeds at the weekend. Josh, Leeds losing to Birmingham. Is that one that surprised you, Josh, from the weekend?
Yeah, it's got to be. I wouldn't say it's a massive shock, but it did surprise me a bit. I think for Birmingham, I think the manner of the win as well. So it was a last-minute goal, was going to do them a whole lot of good for confidence, and it's another club who can really push on from this. I think just like I mentioned with the new ownership, Tom Brady coming in as well, things were up there, and to get a win against Leeds in the fashion they did is only going to boost them. So yeah, I think it's a very good win for them, and it just shows Leeds' struggles, and that's continuing. And it was a slight shock, but I think with the way Leeds are going right now, it didn't come as a massive surprise, just like I said.
Josh, we'll stay with you. We're going to go to the next one. Cardiff QPR. A 2-1 win for Gareth Ainsworth's Queen's Park Rangers after the battering they got in that first half against Watford. They turned it around, got the 3 points at the Cardiff City Stadium. Cardiff drew 2-2 in the first game against Leeds. Then they come to their first home game of the season, and you're thinking, it's QPR, surely we can get a win after their result against Watford. But that's not always the case in football, is it, Josh? One team can get battered 1 week and go and pick up a win the week after, and that's the Championship for you. That's the surprise that it brings. And Cardiff and QPR both tipped to struggle this season, down at the bottom. QPR and Cardiff, obviously some people have got them down as relegation candidates, of course, but this was a significant win for QPR, and the reaction that Gareth Ainsworth wanted, picking up that win over Cardiff, Josh.
Yeah, if you're talking about shocks, this is definitely one that right messed up my acca. But yeah, I think with QPR, obviously they got battered by Watford, didn't they? And then Cardiff, they get a good point against Leeds. You put them nailed on to win, and QPR go there and win. So yeah, it just shows he's done it, and messed up my acca, just like I said. But it's one of them, innit? Championship brings the surprises up, and it's a very difficult league to go and predict. So fair play to QPR, and that's a massive win for them, because to lose the way they did to Watford, it looked like it was going to be very difficult to turn it around, and to go to Cardiff, especially away from home, and pick up a win, massive really for them.
Josh, I'm going to stay with you, and this is the one from John about Elias Chair. Leicester are interested. They are strongly interested in Elias Chair. They are expecting Leicester to make a move for Elias Chair. how much of a significant player is he for QPR, Josh? I mean, what would he bring to Leicester City as a player? I mean, he is a central attacking midfielder, isn't he? He's one of their best players, if not the best, with Willock and that. What does he bring as a player in his attributes, Josh? Elias Chair.
Yeah, I think he's a fantastic player. Probably one of their best players, I'd say. I think if he comes to Leicester, it would be massive for us. But yeah, he's that creative spark, and without him, I think they will be struggling. So it'll be difficult. I think obviously he's a player which QPR are going to want to keep. They probably want to, if Leicester do go in for him, it's going to be a high price because obviously, like I said, he's one of their better players. But yeah, I think if Leicester come in with a decent fee, Chair would probably want to go. So if we can get it done, it will be big. But yeah, obviously there's not long left, so I think it will be a late one. But obviously QPR, I think with the time left, I think it would be a difficult deal to get over the line because if they were to lose him, they're going to have 15 days or so to try and find a replacement. So yeah, it will be a difficult one to do, I think.
Martin, Cardiff QPR game, mate. Is that the one that surprised you?
Yeah, it was another one that I firstly look out for. Working for Asmir Begovic as well. I wanted to see how he got on. I know he had a really good game at Watford at Vicarage Road the week before.
And somehow Steve got Team of the Week.
He got named in the Team of the Week. I think he said to me, I spoke to him on the Sunday afterwards. I said, "How are you feeling?" He said, "I'm going to need an ice bath." I think he took an absolute battering. I think he was a busy man, and he said it was a great result for them. I think they trained really hard in the week. He spoke really highly, actually, Asmir. I've done of the training facility. He said they've invested massively in the training facility there. Yeah. It's just a case of getting the players in, really. I think there's massive pressure on Ainsworth already from what I saw from QPR fans after the Watford defeat. There was a lot of fans calling for his head there and then. But they were abysmal in that first half, weren't they, against Watford? But yeah, big shock the weekend against Cardiff to get a victory. But pleased for Asmir. I was really pleased for him.
Yep. And Cardiff QPR.
I think it was a far more impactful result for QPR than maybe Cardiff. I mean, last season QPR were dreadful. They fell like a stone throughout the league. Stayed up with a couple of surprising wins towards the end, but a lot of them, myself included, tipped QPR to be one of those sides that will go down this season. I'm not really convinced by Ainsworth as a manager. But you've also got to give him kudos for being able to actually get a win after, like we say, the Watford result. Very easy to then, allow that pressure to pile on and overthink and start tweaking things too much and then finding yourself in another bad run similar to last season. But Ainsworth will be determined to prove all these doubters wrong. And the facts, and I think the fans will probably be a bit more optimistic now that they've seen the team can respond after a disappointing defeat like that at Watford. It'll just be, all eyes on now if they can, try and string together a few positive results and not go back to losing in a poor fashion next game and then just, losing all that hard work again and going back to square one. So they just need to sort of try and make themselves hard to beat again, which they did look against Cardiff.
Yep. Next one, Huddersfield Leicester. Huddersfield made it difficult for Leicester, frustrated us for most parts of the game. Huddersfield looked pretty good in the game, to be fair. They gave us what you'd expect from a team like Huddersfield, who give us that fight, that real determination, that Neil Warnock side approach. They defended really well, Huddersfield, I thought. But Leicester, in that first half, they weren't firing, was there? You know what I mean? There was missing chances like it was no one's business. They should have probably been 2-3 up. But, you've got to be clinical in the Championship. If you're not, then sometimes, teams could always bite you on the arse. And Huddersfield could have done that, couldn't they, Josh? But then Stefan Mavididi turns up in that second half and rolls it through the goalkeeper's legs. Leicester dug deep. Tough game. And, I thought we fully got them 3 points in the end for that hard work paid off. So, Josh, talk to me about Huddersfield Leicester, the 3 points that the Foxes picked up.
Massive win, yeah. I think it's one of them games, really. It's Neil Warnock side. You got to go there, fight hard, and I think to come away with one to win, clean sheet as well. I thought we looked a bit more secure defensively. Still at times a bit shaky here and there, but that's going to come with playing a new system. So I think it's a massive win. Obviously, it was Stefan Mavididi who stepped up late on, just like you said, to score, which is massive for him. Goal and assist already in a Leicester shirt. So Yeah, a massive win, and hopefully we can keep that going. But yeah, I'm all right to head off now, Jack. I got my show.
Yes, mate. Yes, mate. Go on. I'll catch you in another
lads.
show. Cheers, Josh. Martin, Leicester beating Huddersfield.
No shocks at all. I expected you to go there and win. I kind of tipped Huddersfield to struggle. I thought they'd be scrapping around. Great manager in Warnock, but I was not shocked at the result. My favourites to win the league this year, Leicester. I expect you to go on hell of a run this season. I think you'll do something very similar to what Burnley did last year, to be quite honest.
Yeah, and Huddersfield, Leicester.
Yeah, I think it was like Martin said. I don't think anyone's surprised by the result. Maybe perhaps surprised it wasn't by more. I do know from a few mates who support Huddersfield that they definitely gave you a good game.
They did.
Huddersfield, I think, are going to be one of those sides that will struggle this season. Another one that will be down there, I think, trying to stay in the division, and they've just not done enough transfer activity in to change that opinion. I don't think Warnock's a very good manager and did a really great job last season in keeping them up. But this season, it looks like with the strength of the league, as we've said before, it's going to be really tough to stay in this league, and you need to be able to grind out results, especially at home. And when you relatively given a chance against Leicester, because they weren't really at the races, and they still couldn't take advantage of that and came away with 0 points. So yeah, an expected win for Leicester. Like Martin said, aside, I think vast majority of people expect to walk the league this season, and an expected defeat for a team that vast majority of people expect to struggle.
Yeah, I think these are the sort of games you've got to really dig out, haven't you, Martin? Leicester and Southampton, these are games that you're going to get frustrated in, but you've got to find a way to win, Martin, when it does get like that, isn't it? The nitty-gritty, should we call them, sort of games.
It's a game that's where champions are made, isn't it? When you go to play, when you go to places like Huddersfield, and like for us to go down to Plymouth at the weekend, if we want to be serious challengers to get automatic promotion, you have to go there and win. It's some of these away games in the Sky Bet Championship are mega, aren't they? You go to places like Stoke on a Tuesday night, you're gonna have to dig results out. They're not easy places to go and play football. I think with the sides like Leicester and Southampton coming down from the Premier League, I think that a lot of the sides they up their game. They definitely step it up. A newly promoted side, and you almost end up like ticket prices end up being a bit more expensive for the likes of you and me to get to these games, and we're seen as a big team coming to home. And like I say, I think they think these are important victories to be picking up. You should be chuffed to bits with that.
Yeah, we managed to just nick that one goal, man. I think it always looked like that sort of game. You're just thinking when the chances weren't going in that first start, you're thinking this could only be a 1-goal game or something like that. And that's how you kind of like see the game going. And, we did have chances. We do pass the ball well. We do move. We can break teams apart and pass through teams like Maresca wants to do. And, yeah, we're looking good under Maresca. It's just patience. It's still work in progress and that. And I think when we do start to click at some point in the season, then we'll see what happens. We'll see a completely different Leicester. I think there'll be a team in there who'll get a good ad in at some point, but I don't know who that's going to be. But we'll have to wait and see. But we can't get too ahead of ourselves, though. We've just got to stay moral grounded and go from there, eat game by game. And we're going to move on to your beloved Hull City, mate. A 4-2 win. Tufan with 3 goals, like you said, previous. A poor Sheffield Wednesday defeat for Wednesday in the Yorkshire derby. How did it feel getting 3 points over your Yorkshire rivals, mate?
It's always good beating Wednesday. There was banter about the old Diame goal at Wembley throughout the game, which was always nice. But it's one of those where it was important for us to get the win. It was a game that I think most Wednesday fans were actually targeting as a potential game to get a positive result from, because they've got a few difficult fixtures coming up. So I think they were targeting this game to get some points, and they didn't really turn up. They were very poor. They allowed us the ball. We caused them all kinds of problems. And from our perspective, it's good to see that we're finally starting to score goals, which was our Achilles heel last season. We've scored in every game this season so far. The only problem is we seem to have lost that ability to keep a clean sheet. We've conceded at least 2 in all of our games as well. So it's meaning we're going to have to score a lot of goals every game if that continues. But we do look good. You can tell that, there's players still getting match fitness back. I would say we've got new signings to come in as well. We're still getting up to where Rosenior wants us to be. And I do think come the end of the transfer window, when we've got the players that he wants, and we'll see what we're capable of. But it was a very important win to bring back the optimism, which was sort of drained from the previous 2 performances, which weren't very good at all, especially the Doncaster one on Tuesday night. But to get a win at home against like you say, Yorkshire rivals, it's a good way to sort of catapult your season. So hopefully we can carry that form into Blackburn on the weekend and at least come away with a point. I would be happy to take a point from Ewood Park.
I think with Hull it was about the reaction to losing to Norwich and to Doncaster, 2-1 defeats, and they reacted the way you needed them to. First home game in the league for Hull, and they reacted in a derby game quite well. The significance of the bragging rights and that, the Yorkshire bragging rights, and it just reminded me of the M69 derby last weekend when Leicester took on Cov. You expect a battling game and you expect the derby to be exactly how it is. Talk to me, Martin, about Hull versus Sheffield Wednesday, a 6-goal thriller at the K-Com.
He saw plenty of goals, just like I did at St Mary's. But yeah, great result for Hull. I expected them to win that one. When I looked at the fixtures on Friday night, I was looking at where everybody was. I expected them to beat Wednesday after what I'd seen on Friday night at Hillsborough when we visited. Great result, like you say, on the back of 2 disappointing results as well. It was important to get the win, I would imagine, for Hull. And then obviously, like Ant was saying, you take it into the Blackburn game this weekend, and you just, like you said, if you could get a bit of a run going now, it kind of steadies the nerves, steadies the fans, and gets everybody back on side, and you can start building momentum again.
Yeah, next one we're going to go on to, boys. Martin, we're going to stay with you, mate, for this one. Ipswich picking up more momentum as the season's going on. A big 2-0 win over Stoke City. Stoke started the season off strongly, a 4-1 win against Rotherham United. Ipswich went to Sunderland, who were playoff hopefuls last season, Sunderland, and beat them quite convincingly, to be fair. And Ipswich then went on this weekend, and it was about the sides of one who's going to actually win the game to finish the season stronger. And obviously the Tractor Boys have done that. They picked up their first home league win of the season. And they went about it quite convincingly against Stoke. Talk to me about this one, Martin.
Portman Road's going to be a fortress for Ipswich, that's for sure. They look, like we said earlier on in the show when we were talking about teams that surprised us. I didn't think it would be so one-sided. I thought with Stoke would maybe pick a point up there, to be honest. But great win for Ipswich. Their early season forms, they're well underway now. I was a little bit surprised at it. I didn't expect it to be so one-sided.
And Ipswich versus Stoke, mate, were you surprised by the result?
To some respect, yeah. I mean, Stoke looked very good in their first game. I think they're going to be a lot better than they were last season. They look to be playing a lot better football. But like we say, Ipswich are just on this sort of just wave of momentum at the minute, and a very good win against last season's playoff finishes Sunderland, and then another win against a good Stoke side. So they've only conceded the 1 goal, scored 4, I believe. So they've got themselves to a position now where they've got that solid base to go into every game from now on with confidence. And as we've said throughout the show, that really important momentum carrying into every game. And I mean, football, all players are confidence players, aren't they? When you're winning games, it's so much easier to win the next one. And winning the first 2 games of the season in this league, and people already tipping you for success. Maybe they go into games thinking, well, yeah, maybe we should be winning these games, and then they automatically lift the game. But on the other hand, they could also start to see themselves get a bit of pressure and then see how they deal with that. So, but no, very, very good win for Ipswich. I don't think Stoke fans will be too concerned, because I think it's the worst part of the season to play newly promoted sides. For the most part, obviously, Sheffield Wednesday excluded, maybe. But the other 2, definitely, it's always a tough game and a very good win.
Yeah, next one is Millwall 0, Bristol City 1. Big Nigel Pearson, who Martin would know well, he'd want his Bristol City side to really go and finish as high as possible this season. Matty James scoring the winner at the Den at the weekend in the, was it 94th minute or something? And
late on, wasn't it?
Yeah, I don't think he scored. I think he scored 2 goals in the last 4 years. So it's been one of them for Matty James. It's been a career of injuries, and it for Matty James. It's about keeping him fit. He can be a good championship player on his day, Matty James, if you do keep him fit. But Big Nige picking up the 3 points against Gary Rowett's Millwall, Martin.
Tough place to go, isn't it, Millwall? You would go to the Den. I'm not looking forward to going there at all. Probably a game that I definitely could have travelled to, but it's going to be super tough. But Pearson, he has a knack of getting results. Hard working sides always. Big result for them. I like Pearson, to be fair. He's always quite outspoken. I always enjoy his presses. I don't know about you two, but he's always quite controversial sometimes. Yeah, he's one of those.
If you watched him at Leicester's press conferences with the ostrich gate and all that,
Oh dear.
He's a character. You just don't want to go on the wrong side of him when he's either lost a game or you just don't want to argue back with him. But you know what the media's like. And he don't stand none of that bollocks, does he? Let's be honest. Nigel Pearson he likes to have a go at the officials, and all of the officials have done something wrong. He'll tell you he ain't bothered about what he says. Nigel Pearson is a straight up bloke, and he's an old school man. He's an old school manager, really. You know what I mean? He's a proper
experienced this division,
outspoken, which is good to see. Football players, no loyalty anymore. And talk to me about Bristol City's win over Millwall. I mean, where did you have these two sides, Millwall and Bristol City, this season, mate?
You see, Millwall are one of those sides that sort of hover around the top 6 every season and always finish outside it. And with how well they played last season, I actually tipped them to be a side that'll be in and amongst the top 6 again this season. And they don't seem to have. They're very similar already in the 2 games that they played, in the sense of, they're not going to score a shed ton, but you're also not going to score loads against them. They're a very solid side, and it's going to be very narrow margins in either way against them. And like you say, it's very, very hard to come away from the Den with anything. So the fact that Bristol have gone there, kept a clean sheet and won is big credit to them. But I think with Nigel Pearson, they've kind of gone under the radar, Bristol City. I mean, the second half of last season, they were really good. They went on a very big unbeaten run, I think, and finished quite safely, and maybe teetering on the edge of the top 6 kind of thing. But with a few games left, would just had too much to do. But they've turned themselves around really, really well defensively. I mean, they've just got a big transfer fee for Alex Scott, 25 mil. So it'd be interesting to see to reinvest that in a smart way. But I think Bristol City will be one of those sides that might go under the radar a bit, and might be a top 10 at least contender. And a result like that, the Den probably doesn't do any harm to that claim.
Yeah, I think Millwall, they beat Middlesbrough on the opening day. Big win for them. But Millwall's always a tough place to go. It always is. Their fans are passionate. They're right behind the team. You don't really want to take a throw-in in front of their fans, but you have to. Leicester went there one year in the FA Cup. Chilwell went to take the throw-ins, and he just won't do it. And, I just think that, like I say, it's very intimidating, the Den. It is. It's one where you're not guaranteed 3 points because they work hard for each other, Millwall players. You know what you're always going to get, a very tough match against them. Bristol City got that, and they just managed to sneak a win, which, late on it'd probably have upset a few. But at the end of the day, Millwall have got 3 points now after beating Middlesbrough. They obviously did lose to Bristol City, but I think Millwall's are going to be always around that playoff spot. I mean, they were lucky to not get playoffs last season. But the next one we're going to get to, boys, is Preston v Sunderland. Sunderland haven't had the greatest start to the season. 2 defeats in their first opening 2. Preston picking up 3 points at the weekend. Talk to me about Preston, Sunderland, and...
I think this one surprised me a little bit, because I didn't think Sunderland would do as well this season as they did last. And that's purely on the basis that Amad Diallo was just so crucial to the way they played, that the fact that he's not with them this season, I just didn't think they would bring anybody in, and they haven't done, that would have the same impact on their side. Ross Stewart will be absolutely key if they can keep him at the club and keep him fit. But no, they've not started well at all, and I think they probably would have been expecting to be at least chasing the top 6 again this season. 2 defeats, similar to Borough, where they've probably surprised a lot of people in a negative sense. Preston are one of those that I think probably would have been one of your picks for mid-table obscurity, and they're also similar to Bristol City, might do something kind of under the radar this season. The last season they struggled to score goals, so if they can cure that this season, then they could do something. But it's a good win against what's still relatively a good Sunderland side.
I agree. Martin, Preston beating Sunderland.
Yeah, interesting. I've just looked at the statistics from the game, actually. I'm quite shocked at the result, to be fair. Surprised at Sunderland. I didn't think they'd probably do as well, as Ant said, this season. But looking at the possession stats, they had 65% of the possession. They had the majority of the play, only 35% for Preston. But they committed a lot of fouls as well, Preston. So it looks like they put a hell of a shift in this one as well. 12 corners, Sunderland, so just the 5 of Preston. So interesting result, to be fair, by Preston to just to dig in and get something against a team that did really well last season. But like Ant said, really, will they be as good without that star striker, Diallo? He was top draw for him last season, wasn't he? So yeah, he's a big miss for them, isn't he?
Yeah, agreed. Next one is the New York Stadium. A 2-2 draw between these two sides. Blackburn 2-0 down against Rotherham. Rotherham have got another red card. I mean, they've had 2 red cards now in the last 2 games, Rotherham United. It always seems to be hindering towards them with the referee decisions and all that. But talk to me about Rotherham versus Blackburn. How big of a point is that for Blackburn to come from 2-0 down, Martin?
Dominated by Blackburn by the looks of it as well. But what a result for them, really. It says here they're 21 shots at goal compared to the 9 of Rotherham. So they've dominated a lot of the game as well. So they'll probably feel a little bit unlucky not to walk away with all 3 points by the look of it. I've not seen the highlights of that game, but I like Blackburn. It's a club that's just kind of just got stuck in that division, haven't they? Whether they could try and get a playoff this season, I think it'd be really tough. But it's a club that's just like, just shows what happens if you get down there for one season, things don't work out, you lose players, you lose their parachute payments, get stuck in that league. It's a nightmare. Something that I don't want to see us do, that's for sure.
Yup. Blackburn, Rotherham, man. Blackburn, they could have lost a manager in the summer, John Dole Thomason. They lost the likes of Bradley Dark and Diaz as well. It's been a bit of a struggle, hasn't it? About what's happening with Blackburn, about who's leaving. It's been in a bit of a crisis, hasn't it? But talk to me about Rotherham, Blackburn.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly a better point for Rotherham than it is Blackburn. I think Rotherham will probably be very annoyed, obviously, that they let a 2-goal lead slip. But I believe they had a man sent off in the second half, and that new ruling where obviously players asking for cards for other players gets themselves a yellow card. And I think he was already booked, wasn't he, and got himself sent off asking to book a different player. So
you just don't do it.
Yeah, but maybe perhaps the result of the game was swayed on that. Obviously, bizarre decision to have done that. But Rotherham will struggle this year, and I think points like that are very big. Blackburn aren't a bad side. I don't think they're going to be challenging the top 6 like they have the last couple of years. Like you say, they've lost a few key players, and they don't seem to have done enough in the transfer market for me to replace them and have the goals in them to do that. But like you say, I mean, Rotherham, I just think that the quality-wise for them this season, they might fall short. And unfortunately probably finishing the bottom 3, but you're never going to watch a Rotherham play and say that they didn't try. They're going to give you a game every single time you play them. There's going to be effort there, and that'll certainly make up for perhaps the lack of quality compared to some other sides, and they'll surprise a few sides this season, and Blackburn obviously on the end of that, and perhaps a bit lucky because of the red card that they even got something from it at all.
Yeah, Rotherham's going to be a tough place to go for teams this season. We've got them away from home next week, so I'm expecting a tough game by Rotherham. Obviously, they've got Victor Johansson, former City goalkeeper. The next one, boys, we're going to go to Martin first on this one. Southampton 4, Norwich 4. An 8-goal thriller at St Mary's. What a game, Martin, for Saints. I think with you, it would have been the case that you wanted 3 points and not 1 point.
Yeah, I was desperate for the 3 points, and look, we just defended so bad. I think we were really sloppy. There was 2 headers, crosses in the box. Walker Peters, who played really well in the opening game at Hillsborough, had a nightmare Saturday first half. He must have got roasted by Russell Martin at halftime because he was lackluster in the first half. Didn't get the right side of his man, and they scored a really easy header. And it was just like one of those games. It's just like individually, we were just sloppy at the back. They overran us a little bit in midfield. I'm a little bit concerned about midfield. Will Smallbone, who's the main man for us,
Injured.
He got injured, and it didn't look great. To be fair, it looked like possibly a ligament issue. Russell Martin said he could be out for months rather than weeks at this moment in stage. But yeah, it was just like end to end action really. Adam Armstrong stepped up. He scored 3 in 2 now.
Yeah.
Obviously, like one come off his back against Sheffield at Sheffield Wednesday, but 2 really good penalties. Like, Ward Prowse would have taken those penalties. Would he have scored both of them? Not so sure he would have done. He wasn't a very good penalty taker, Prowse, but Adam Armstrong's really stepped up last couple of weeks. I thought he was superb for us Saturday. Works really hard. He dropped in once Adams come on. If you can keep those 2 together, you've got a shed load of goals there. You're just going to have to sort it out at the back. Young Gavin Bazunu come under massive criticism last season as a goalkeeper, but he wasn't at fault for any of the goals, I didn't think, at the weekend. I thought just defensively in front of him, we weren't good enough. But yeah, what a game. What a game.
Martin, what's the future on Teller?
We have to keep him. In my view, he's a player you cannot sell at any cost at this moment in time if you want to get promotion back to the Premier League. Obviously, there was so much around Burnley. There's now Bayer Leverkusen apparently interested in him. I think if they get an offer in excess of 20-25 million, they may consider it. But I didn't think he did great at the weekend. I think he was in and out. He was struggled to walk at the end of the game. Russell Martin expects so much of his players. He was suffering a cramp late in the game, but I think he's a player you have to keep. If we let him go, along with Ward Prowse, Lavia, Armel Belakocha, the centre half, will probably go as well. And if you happen to lose Adam as well, I just think it just flattened the atmosphere. I think it could kill us. So yeah, Teller must stay. Do not let him go at any cost.
And Southampton, the 4-4 draw with Norwich.
Yeah, great game. Like I said, Norwich were very impressive against us and continued that against Southampton. They're certainly going to be a side that most games will probably have a lot of goals in. Southampton, obviously, I watched them against Sheffield Wednesday in the first game and caught the highlights of them against Norwich. And we all know they're firepower going forwards. And like you say, keeping hold of people like Adam Armstrong, Shea Adams, and Nathan Teller. Obviously, I know there's a lot of pressure on social media from Burnley fans on the hashtag free Teller movement. Southampton are being very, very stubborn on their prices for players, which I suppose as a fan you want to see. Not let them go for less than the value of them at, which is always good. But like you say, the question marks is on both Norwich and Southampton defensively. Because for me, Southampton are top 2 contenders at the very minimum. But like you say, if they continue conceding goals at the way that they are, and especially playing the open sort of expansive system that Martin wants to play, then they're going to have to score a lot of goals every game in order to do that. And we all know what the Championship's like. You're not going to do that on a consistent basis, or it's very unlikely at the very least. And but definitely a cracking game, and one I think that both fans will have gone home thinking, yeah, do you know what? I got my money's worth there.
Yeah. Next one, lads, is Watford v Plymouth, a 0-0 draw. Plymouth picking up a big point against Watford at Vicarage Road after Watford spanking Queen's Park Rangers. I think Plymouth would have been happy with that one. Both sides won in the opening day. I think share of the spoils was quite significant for both sides at the weekend. Both sides would obviously have loved 3 points, but I think they both would have settled where points at the weekend. But and Watford, Plymouth.
I think Watford will be quite disappointed with it. I think obviously after winning your opening game so convincingly and then drawing your second game to a newly promoted side, maybe they expected a bit more. But Plymouth, showed that there are no pushovers and they're going to be no pushovers. Watford's a very tough place to go to and get a result from. And they've gone and showed in their 2 games that they're going to mix it and at least be in contention every game. I think the thing is for Watford, maybe that's the positive, is that they're keeping clean sheets. Last season they were very poor. I know the general feeling amongst their fan base, and obviously we all know what their owners are like, and chip chopping managers every 5 or 6 months. But they'll be looking for stability. They'll be looking for stability. Sorry, and you know that this could be a different season in the sense that it could be positive, and that, you know, if they can hold on to the manager for the entire season at least, and maybe turn a corner in that sense. And but it's whether or not we're going to get a consistent Watford, which I believe is probably their fans' concerns too, because last season they were also very inconsistent. So and the key to success in this league is being consistent, and it's the hardest thing to do. So an interesting result, I think. Far better point for Plymouth than it is Watford, but definite reason to keep your eye on both of these for the rest of the year.
Yeah, Watford, Plymouth, Martin.
Yeah, I was surprised at the result, really, especially after the way that Watford played on the opening day against QPR, and the goals they scored. They were absolutely rampant, weren't they, that day? But a better result, like Ant said, for Plymouth, really. They'd be delighted to pick up a point. Sets them up nicely for going back to home park to play us at this in the weekend's opening. I think with the second fixture of the weekend, I think Leeds play on Friday. We play them early on Saturday. Yeah, I think they like we said earlier in the show, they're a decent side, Plymouth, but they'd be delighted with a point there, I would have thought. Be interesting to see if Watford can get some consistency this season. And like I'd say, can they keep a manager for a season? They just need to settle down as a club, don't they? Because it's a good football club, and you know they've yo-yoed for so long. But you know, if they could get things right there and things begin to click, they'll definitely be in the mix.
Yeah, I agree. Last one, boys, is West Brom 3, Swansea 2. Swansea have done some good business, haven't they? Bringing in Jerry Yates and that. 14 goals last season for Blackpool. There's obviously been quite a lot of talk about Joel Pirro. This transfer window, Leeds, Leicester, even Southampton. I mean, a big 3-2 win for West Brom at the weekend, I thought. A game full of goals. Swansea, the game before, drew 1-1 with Birmingham. But I think, like I say, Pirro is still uncertain on his future, and there's quite a bit of the window to go, so it could be they could lose him. But there's obviously been rumours of a new contract as well, so I don't know what's going to happen on that ball. And West Brom v Swansea and Joel Pirro.
I think it's a very. I mean, West Brom, I think, were going to be one of those sides that really struggled this year. I'm not going to pretend to know the complete ins and outs of their finances this year, but I know that they're in a little bit of trouble if they're not promoted by the end of the year. I know the fans are worried about it, and obviously they're having to shed some of their players that are perhaps on larger wages, and that means obviously the quality of your squad depletes. And with how hard the league is this season, it could be a worrying year for West Brom fans. But, you know, results like that against the Swansea that I think many would tip probably for the top 6 in contention at least. It's a very good result, and one that they hope they can build on. Pirro is one of them. It's a transfer cycles like this can really unsettle a club. And I think that's perhaps what's happening at Swansea at the minute. And, you know, you'd rather him just go and get your fee for him or stay, rather than the constant, is he staying, is he going kind of malarkey that goes on. But, you know, like you said, they've recruited well in bringing in Jerry Yates. If he's going to be the replacement, then it's you know, they could have done far worse. It's hard to find strikers at this level that can score more than 10 goals, and I think Jerry Yates is definitely one of those. I mean, Blackpool got relegated last season. He scored 14 for them, so he's got something about him. You put him in a side that creates more chances, then he probably score more. But Pirro is so important to Swansea. He has been for the last few years. So they'll hope they can keep hold of him. But, you know, if they're going to sell him and get a decent fee, then you know, if they can reinvest it in a very smart way, then they could probably improve the squad more on a whole. Because I think as Grimes already gone? Is he going Southampton?
He's still there. He played for the weekend, yeah.
Yeah, so I think Martin's heavily interested in bringing Grimes into Southampton to improve your midfield.
Yeah, he wants him. Yeah.
So, you know, they've got a key couple of weeks now whether or not they can hold on to these players. And with West Brom, it's, you know, can they surprise everybody and try and do one of those last ditch runs for the Premier League and string a few results together.
Yeah, agreed. Martin, the results for Swansea against West Brom, a 3-2 defeat. And then what's Southampton's stance on Joel Pirro?
I think they've they pretty much said that they would like to sign him if they can. It's what they do with Shay Adams, really, whether Shay Adams will go out the door. I believe Adams will probably leave the football club. I don't think he's got a year left on his contract. There's no danger of him signing a new contract as it stands. I think he sees himself as a Premier League player. He's in the Scotland setup. I think he'd be a perfect replacement. It'd probably be an upgrade on Adams for us. I think he'd be a really good signing. But Matt Grimes has been spoke about heavily down here. He played for they both played at the weekend. Super impressed with Matty Grimes. I think he'd be a standout for us. He's the sort of person we need in our midfield, that's for sure. You've got Flynn Downs as well. Whether we bring them both in, I don't know. But yeah, Swansea ones to watch at the moment. I've spoken to Swansea fans on and off all summer. Yep. So they're going through a bit of a transition at the moment, aren't they? And it's a good football club. They've always had a style of football they like to play, and Duff's got his hands full there, that's for sure.
Yeah, agreed. That is it, boys. That is it. Guys, if you've enjoyed the stream, smash a like, subscribe to the channel if you're watching it on playback. Let us know your views about everything we talked about. Go and check out Martin. Martin, let everyone know where they can find you, mate, on the YouTube and TikTok and whatever, all the things you do.
Yeah, I'm Football Martin on all my platforms, Twitter, YouTube, which I don't use loads, and TikTok as well. Give me a follow on TikTok as well. Going to start doing some lives on there as well, sort of pre-match, build up a few debate shows. But yeah, I've loved coming on. Thank you for having me on today.
No, I appreciate it.
It's been an absolute pleasure.
Take care, Martin.
Thank you very much.
Cheers, mate. And you're the last one to go, mate. Let everyone know where they can find you on the socials, mate. Shout out your channel.
Yeah, you can find us on Twitter. That's our main source at the minute. Hull_and_back. You won't be able to miss us. It's Black and Amber. It's Tigers. You'll see us about. You can follow us on there. You can subscribe to us on YouTube. We do get opposition fans on, so it is worth subscribing because you will see content from fans of your own club as well. It's not just Hull City stuff. And like I say, we've got a website now. We've written content out. But yeah, always a pleasure coming on your show, mate. I think I've been on a few times now already. It. Yeah, we're already a couple of games in, so always appreciate it, mate. Cheers.
Cheers, Ant. Take care, mate. That is it from the boys then, Martin and Ant. Thanks for them boys coming on. Also, Sportser as well. He joined me as well, so thank you to Sportser. The lads' channels are in the description, so go and check them out. If you have liked the stream, smash a like, subscribe to the channel if you're new to the channel. What's coming up on the final whistle? So I've got match preview to do this week. Join me for that. We'll do the championship predictions again this week for game week 3. So interesting stuff. But no, thank you for watching the EFL Championship Forum. Hope you've enjoyed it. Take care, and I'll see you again very soon. Hi all, thank you for watching the final whistle. If you enjoy all our content, please remember to smash a like, share, and subscribe to the channel.